Hey all of you, hope you guys are great. So I hope you guys are enjoying this project. In the last video we have written the contract for our context and we have written the interface for our ERC20 token. In this video we're going to write the contract for our initializer. It's actually going to be abstraction which we're going to use it in our actual contract to initialize our contract and check whether the contract is initialized or not. So what is the status of the contract? So that's what we're going to write, the abstraction. So just let's code along with me, everything will make sense. So we have to give the license identifier on license, we have to give the sorority name, version, then we have to take this import. And can you guess that why we have taken this address contract into this initializer contract? Because we have to identify that whether the staking contract is active or not active. So that's why we need the address. So let's create the initializer abstraction. We'll say contract initializable. So now we're going to take theirs. So we'll take this unt variable called private initialized. We'll come down and we'll take this boolean value initializing. This will tell us that whether it's initializing or not, and we're going to manage this entire in this particular initializer contract. You can just imagine as a state variable. Now we can come here, we'll take this event initialized, and then we have to pass this the version, or you can give whatever name you want. We can come here, we have to take this modifier initializer. Inside that we have to define the logics. So what we'll do is we'll say boolean if top level call is to true. So here we are taking this particular variable, we're saying boolean is top level call, means our contract, it's called the top contract if it's true. So by default we are setting it to true, and if you look at this particular variable, by default it will be the false, but here we are saying that it's true. We're checking for the true condition, and that's what we are assigning here. Then we'll take this required statement, and then we have to build a logic. We'll say is top level call is true and initialized. What it will do, it will allow us to check whether the contract is started or not, because when we'll deploy our contract, the staking contract, then we have to set the status of our contract. We have to activate the contract for receiving funds. So this is the contract which is going to check. So this is the modifier will check whether the contract is activated or not. Then we'll take this initialize variable and we have to increase it to 1. So by default it will be 0, and we're going to simply increase that, and when we have to build this logic. So we'll say if top level call initializing true, and then we'll simply execute our further function, and we'll say if top level call initializing equal to false, then we have to emit this particular event initialized one, and looks pretty good. So this is the modifier we have, the custom modifier. Now let's define a couple of more logic into this modifier. So that's the modifier we have. Hope that's very simple. In simple sense, what it does, it will allow you to check whether the contract is started or not. If it's started, then it will throw the error message, but if it's not started, it will set this particular variables, particular data, and update into our state variable. Let's take another modifier and reinitializer. So this is the second modifier, which is a reinitializer, and this will be trigger whenever we try to update any information into our main contract. Means it's kind of a reinitialization, like you are try to update the pricing of the token staking, or you want to increase the staking quantity. So that's will be come in the reinitializer. So in that we need to pass couple of information like the unt version, the number. Then we can come here, we'll take this required statement, and the same check we have to do here. This is the version, and we'll say initializable contract is already initialized. So means it's already initialized, and we'll simply do this particular things. So we have to simply update the data to the state variable, and then we have to simply continue. Then we have to call this initializing equal to false, and we have to say that emit is gonna be a version. So this is the second modifier. I hope you guys have understood that what we have done. If it sounds complicated, I do understand that it will be complicated a little bit, because we are dealing with the different contract and we're trying to manage our entire state of our application with a separate file. So this will be a little complex. Just work along with me, everything will make sense. and we are building all the logics together. Okay, so that's the second modifier we have. Now we come down here, we'll take the another one, we'll say only initializing. So this will be triggered at the time of initializing. So we can come here, we'll take this required statement called initializing, and we'll say initializable contract is not initializing. Okay, now we have to simply execute it. So that's the third modifier we have. We can come here, we can write a function called disable initializer. So this will allow us to update this data, and we can turn it off and we can turn it on. So some of the initializer will be triggered at the time of function call in our main contract, but we will have the separate function in our this particular one, which we can call it to update the data with the help of this particular function disable. Okay, let's say internal view, and we'll take this return initializing initializable contract is initialized. Then we have to say if initialize is greater than this type max. And again, I have covered extensively this types max and unt8 unt256, everything is covered in the Solidity course, so you can check there. Okay, so come here, we can take this initialized type unt max, then we have to simply initialize the event with the exact value, then we have to simply close that one. So this is the entire contract for our initialization. So things are looking pretty fine, we have no issues. This is the first initializer we have, this is the re-initializer, this is the only initializing, and this is the disable initializer, and these are the variables which we are managing. So hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys, and that's the only thing I want to cover about this initializer contract. And so that's the only thing I want to cover about this initializer contract. Everything will make sense, just follow along with me in this project, things will be pretty clear to all of you guys, and you guys will know that what you have to do, how this different contract work and interact and manage the state inside the contract. So with that, let's move to the next video.